As we go through this series, because we're hanging out pretty much in one chapter of the Bible, 2 Samuel chapter 23, and starting in verse 8. And I'm just going to read through this, and then we're going to talk about it a little bit, because David had what we call today in church circles his mighty men. And these mighty men had a few things in common, and we're going to talk about this over the course of the next 4 to 6 weeks. And it starts in verse 8 by telling us, following are the names of David's warrior heroes. This is in the contemporary Jewish translation of the Bible, so it might sound different to you. But following are the names of David's warrior heroes. Oh, good luck with this one. Yosef, Beshevet, the Takmoni. There we go. I say that 3 times fast. Chief of the 3, also known as Adino the Etzni. Okay, so they shortened it up. Thank the good Lord above. He is the one who came against 800 men whom he killed in a single encounter. Chief of the 3. Wow. After him was, don't laugh, Eleazar, the son of Dodo, the son of Akochi, one of the 3 warriors with David when they put their lives in jeopardy against the Philistines who were there assembled for battle. While the men of Israel had gone away, he stood firm and attacked the Philistines until his hand went into a spasm so that he couldn't let go of his sword. God accomplished a great victory that day, but the people didn't return until he had finished, and then only to plunder the bodies of the dead. Oh, that's pretty deep. After him was Shammah, the son of Ach, the Harorite. The Philistines had assembled. Man, what is it about these Philistines? The Philistines had assembled at Lehi, where there was a plot of ground full of beans. And the people fled from the Philistines. But he stood in the middle of the field and defended it, killing the Philistines, and God brought about a great victory. During harvest season, 3 of the 30 leaders went down and came to David at the cave of Adullam, when a company of Philistines had set up camp in the Rephaim Valley. At that time, David was in the fortress, and the garrison of the Philistines was in Beit Lechem. David had a craving and said, I wish someone would give me water to drink from the well by the gate of Bethlehem. The 3 warrior heroes broke through the army of the Philistines, drew water from the well by the gate of Bethlehem, and took it and brought it to David, but he wouldn't drink it. Instead, he poured it out to God and said, God, heaven forbid that I should do such a thing. Am I to drink the blood of men who went and put their lives in jeopardy? And he would not consent to drink it. These are the things. These are the things that their 3 warrior heroes did. Abishai, the brother of Joab, the son of Zeruiah, was chief of the 3. He raised his spear against 300 men and killed them. Thus he had a reputation even among the 3. He had the most honor of these 3 and was therefore made their leader. However, he did not achieve the status of the first 3. And this here is where the series title comes from. In verse 20, Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, the son of a valiant man of Katzveel, was a man of many exploits. He struck down 2 lion-hearted men from Moab. One day when it was snowing, he went down into a pit and killed a lion. Here is how he killed an Egyptian, a man of intimidating appearance. The Egyptian had a spear in his hand, and he went down to him with only a stick. He seized the spear from the Egyptian's hand and killed him with his own spear. These are the things that Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, did that earned him a name among the 3 warrior heroes. He had more honor than the 30, but he did not achieve the status of the first 3. David put him in command of his personal bodyguard. These guys all have something in common. Anybody have an idea of what that could be? They all were willing to face what we would perceive as insurmountable odds to accomplish the things that needed to be done. These guys, and I want you to think about this too, these guys who chase lions in uneven terrain, slick surfaces, jump down into a pit, dark in there, not knowing what's at the bottom, unsure, insecure, just to kill a lion. How many times does God tell us to do things that make us leery, maybe a little scared, because it's unfamiliar territory for us? And God didn't ask us to trust that He would do it. He said, this is something I'm giving you to do and placing on the inside of you. This is a passion for you. Not for James. The passion that God has put inside of me is not the same passion that He's put inside of James. And am I willing to lay down what it is that I feel like I want for something better? Because at the end of the day, it comes down to this question: do I trust God? Or do I just trust the things that I've heard about Him? Am I a fan? I know about my favorite Royals players. I can rattle off statistics, where they went to college, like I've said before. But do I know Alex Gordon? No. Do I know Alcides Escobar? No. Do I know Salvador Perez? No. I know about them. And that's where a lot of us struggle in our faith. We know a lot about God, or we grew up in church like myself, cut my teeth on the pews from the age of 3. But did it really mean anything to me? I went because that's what good little boys did. Jesus went to the temple because that's what good Jewish boys did. But it meant something different to Jesus because it was a deeper connection with Him, because He knew who He was worshiping, not what. Do I know who it is that I'm worshiping? Or do I just know statistics? In order to chase the lion, first you have to know who it is that gives us the power to do it. Do you really know God? There's the question. Do you really know God? Or do you just know about Him? Because if you look, and here is a statistic, if you ask 100 people, do you know God? Oh yeah, I'm a Christian. I go to church on Easter and Christmas like everybody else. But if you ask them what God means to them, Well, he's love. Yeah. He gives me peace. Yeah. And they'll rattle off the statistics about God. But who is he? Some religions know him as a God of vengeance and wrath. Some know him as only a God of love. Nothing else, only love. But if you look at the Old Testament and some of these verses I just read, God was a God of love, yes, but also a God of vengeance, a God of downright rage at times. Let's not even get into the conversation about what happened when Moses went up onto the mountain to receive what we know today as the Ten Commandments. And he comes back down the mountain, catches the people worshiping a golden calf, and God's like, I'm just going to kill them all. I will just annihilate them now. I will destroy them. I will wipe them off the face of the earth and start over with just you. To Moses. And Moses reminds God of who he is. See, that's how you have to enact your relationship with God, if he's your father. Reminding him of who he is. Moses said, Lord, take me instead. He says, because if you do what we're talking about doing, you will tarnish your good name among the nations. So God relented and held back from what it was that he had intended to do. Because how many of you realize that God almost never changes his mind? Once he sets something in motion, that is what is going to happen. I mean, listening to the Bible on CD, all these rules, all these man-made rules that people turned it into, because see, God gave them the Ten Commandments and the sacrifice system. But then you've got all these priests and all these supposed know-it-alls throughout the centuries that would take this list that God gave the people to enact a closer, more personal, intimate relationship with him. And they said, okay, you do this, but you also have to do this, 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 and this. So the original law of God, these priests and these so-called prophets and all these so-called men of God added to this list to the point where there were like literally over 950 laws that the people had to follow to the letter. And God was not trying to get the people to follow these rules. He was trying to get them to a place where they realized they couldn't. But dadgummit, they tried. They tried to follow every single rule to the letter. And God's up there and he's like, don't you get it? You can't. You will never be perfect enough to chase these lions on your own. You can't do it. Hence the difference between Peter and Judas in the New Testament. Peter realized what he had done. He denied Christ 3 times. And when it became really scandalous to follow Christ, he started cussing people out. But he acknowledged his sin and repented and confessed. And he became one of the figureheads, if you want to call it that, of the church. Judas, brokenhearted when he realized what he had done, betraying Christ for 30 pieces of silver. Realizing what he had done, he tried to make amends the human way. Give the money back. Take it back. And then, when that didn't work, instead of confess, repent, come back into right relationship, I'm going to hang myself. Which are we? I think at points in time, all of us share characteristics with both. And lion chasers usually do. Because David wasn't perfect. He was a lion chaser too. If you remember, before he faced Goliath, he killed a lion and a bear. But he counted the people when God told him not to. He committed adultery with another man's wife, tried to cover it up by having him killed. He was not a perfect man, but his heart is what God looked at. Not the things that we do on the exterior, but what's going on in here. Look at the book of Psalm and how many times David pours out his heart to God, broken, in deep repentance and awe. He wasn't perfect, but he was a man after God's own heart, which gave him the ability when God said, "You're going to be the next king of my people," gave him the confidence to kill the lion, to kill the bear, to kill the giant, to kill thousands of enemy soldiers. And also to exercise restraint. Saul's coming after him. He wants to kill him. He's jealous of David and wants him dead. And keep in mind, Saul had the entire army of Israel at his command at this point in time, and David had 500 guys. And that's a lot of people, don't get me wrong, but that's nothing in the face of 35,000. And David hid in a cave. And his men are like, "Saul's right down there. You could go down there. You could slit his throat and be done with him." David's like, "No, he's the Lord's anointed. I'm not touching him." And even after Saul had killed himself, a servant came thinking he was going to make himself look good in the eyes of David. And said, "Yeah, Saul was mortally wounded on the battlefield, and he asked me to run him through with a sword, and I did." Not telling the truth. But instead of making him look good in the eyes of David, it made him look even worse. And David had him killed. Too late to take it back. David had him killed because he touched the Lord's anointed. So we look at Benaiah, chases a lion into a pit on a snowy day and kills the lion. Doesn't really say how he kills him. Just tells him that Benaiah walked in, Benaiah walked out, lion did not. What set him apart? He became the captain of David's bodyguards, meaning that everywhere David went, Benaiah went. He didn't live as if the purpose of life was just to arrive safely at death. How many of us just live and we get stuck into this trap of living every day for the next paycheck, for the next promotion, for the next opportunity? And then we realize at the end of the day, the only thing we become when we do these things is more stressed out, less content, and with more work. Because you're never going to be happy with the next boat. Because as soon as you see somebody with a nicer boat, oh, I want that. The next car, as soon as you see somebody with a nicer car, you want that. And then at the end of the day, we die. And like I said before, we don't take any of that stuff that we accumulated with us. So are we chasing lions, or are we just chasing things that at the end of the day aren't going to matter? Don't mean a hill of squat. Guilty. Got a promotion at work. More work involved? Yes and no. It's a boring job, but the work that goes into making it a boring job is very stressful. Because you just trade one set of problems for another. Instead of worrying about having enough fruits and vegetables to put out on the floor, okay, now I have to worry about my people and my people's attitudes toward each other. I have to worry about, are people getting the job done? Heck, I even have to worry about, did Eric take a shower this week? And I have to talk to him about his BO. And those of you who know me know that I'm not good with confrontation and conflict. I'm just not. But that's part of the job. So, going from being just a guy working to being the boss, and if I don't deal with these problems, the boss comes down on me, adds more stress, and stuff like that. So, I've determined that through this series, what I want to learn, here's the big thing that I want us all to learn through this series. This is just the intro. Next week is Mother's Day, so I'm going to have to deviate a little bit from the plan. But what I want us all to learn through this series is, what has God called me to do? Me personally, and us as a church, corporately. And what am I doing about it? Am I chasing the lion? Am I chasing dreams that are destined to fail without divine intervention? Or am I just chasing what's comfortable? Because, you know, if I were just going to throw a number out there, okay? Let's say we filled up this entire half of the theater over here. We've got 90 to 95 people coming on a regular basis. Okay? Guess what? If that's the only goal, I'm just trading one set of problems for another. Think about it. Right now, we get together and we talk about who's hurting whose feelings, who's having a bad day, a bad week. Let's multiply that by 10. One set of problems for another. And do I have people trained up so that I don't have, and this is the pressure that pastors put on themselves, so I'm just opening up to you a little bit here. We feel like we have to deal with all of it. We feel like the entire thing is our baby to deal with. And the thing is, we almost never delegate, because at some point along the way, some malfunction switch triggers in our brain, and we revert back to high school. If you want it done right, you have to do it yourself. That's why I'm glad that right now this church is as small as it is. Because I can teach Jimmy how to do some things. And then I can be like, okay, I don't have to worry about that no more. He's got it. He's good. If he needs help, he knows he can come to me, but he's good. He's got it. Steve, same way. Nicole, Brian, the same way. John and Mandy, wifey, mother-in-law and Faith in the back. I don't worry about those kids, because why? They have a passion for what it is that they're doing. And they get excited about it. Right now, what I want to focus on is developing our praise and worship team to where they lead the songs. Not just sing along, but they are leading the songs. Develop my leaders. Develop my brotherhood. So that if I'm not here, we don't have to cancel service. If I'm not here, hey guys, John, James, Steve, handle it. Because once we get to that point, then we will be ready for growth. Numerically and in our own personal spiritual walk with God. Because if I want to be a lion chaser, I got to be spending time in His Word. Because if I'm not spending time in God's Word, if I'm not reading it, if I'm not soaking it in, if I'm not on my knees at some point throughout the day, it doesn't have to be in the morning, you roll out of bed. Our Father who art in heaven. No. It can be at any point throughout your day. You just take a few minutes. You say, okay, Lord, who do you want me to talk to today? Who do I need to encourage today? Open a door for me to encourage somebody today, Lord. Open a door for me to bless somebody today. And then you start looking. Because if you ask, He will. Start looking. And then you look and you see somebody with a discouraged look on their face, with stress on their face, like Nicole and Tammy right now. The stress that you're going through, the pressure that you feel like you're facing, is there to develop you, to train you, to make you a better lion chaser. The pain that our sister Mandy goes through. That I go through. Steve and James and grandmas and grandpas and wifeys and Nicole's of the world, Brian's of the world. Mom Sharon's in a lot of pain this morning. What we have to learn to ask ourselves is not God heal me. God renew me. What is it in my way of thinking, in my way of doing things that I haven't brought in line? That I haven't become a lion chaser with? Do I still struggle with the same things that I've struggled with? I still have some lessons to learn. What are the things that I need to learn, Lord? Please, I don't want to keep facing this same test, whether it be physical, mental, or even spiritual. I don't want to keep facing this same test week in and week out, year in and year out. But Lord, it seems like I keep beating my head up against the same brick wall, and I don't know how to change it. What do I need to do? What is it that I need to learn? And then start listening. Because and everybody here knows, so it's no big secret, in my struggle with pornography, it took Brian Rickman, another part of the brotherhood, saying, Chris, you don't need that. Let's hold each other accountable. I struggle with it too. We don't need this in our lives. This is holding us back. This is just something to distract us from chasing the lion, which is 1, planting the church, 2, growing and developing the leaders within the church, and 3, sending them to do the work of the ministry. Because if I'm so focused on what I'm facing, what I'm struggling with, what it is I'm dealing with, up here, in here, whatever, then I'm not going to be focused on growing Nicole. I'm not going to be focused on growing Tammy, or John, or Mandy, or Susan, or Steve, or James. I'm going to be focused on what's going on up here. That's not a lion chaser. That's not a lion chaser. That's just a survivor. I survive. Exactly. You become a lion, basically, or you're like the dog that returns to his vomit and you're just following your tail around. Oh, hey, there it is. Oh, look over there. There's the next opportunity. And so somebody says something and they're like, "Oh, you have the gift. You have the gift." And then you latch on to that until the next gift comes along. Hey, Jimmy, you have a passion. You have a call in your life, brother. Until life happens. Here's a newsflash. If life distracts you from what it is that you're called to do and who it is that you're called to be, I think chances are that's not the call for you. Maybe your call is to help develop somebody else's call. Maybe that's the lion you need to chase Instead of saying, oh, I'm going to be a youth pastor and we're going to have 150 kids in our youth ministry. Maybe your job is to help sharpen each other. And then, oh, look, we've got a team of people that are doing something. It's infinitely easier to do things as a group, as a team, than it is to do it on your own. I mean, you've got group projects and all that stuff that you were working on. Imagine if you were trying to do all that stuff, just you. It couldn't happen. It couldn't happen. You all have a team at work that you have to work with, that you have to, some of us, put up with on a day-to-day basis, a week-to-week basis. And some people just aren't cutting the sauce, if that's what you want to call it. And you've got a bunch of people that are just,
so-and-so said this, and so-and-so did that, and so-and-so, and so-and-so, and so-and-so, and so-and-so.
and you hurt my feelings. Okay. But are we adults here? Or are we back in 7th grade? So, as we go deeper into this series of Chase the Lion, I want all of us to begin discovering, even if it's just at a rudimentary level, what's my lion to chase? What's my lion to chase? And then go for it. Quit running away from it. Do it. And cut the things out of your life that need to be cut out of your life that are hindering you from doing that thing, from chasing that line. Because all of us have those things that, like I said before, they become distractions. Maybe it's a person. Maybe it's a circumstance. Maybe it's just up here. Self-fulfilling prophecies are often the most dangerous kind. So let's learn to chase these lions, because and here's the kicker, why we do this as a church. So you don't have to chase your lion on your own. I can help Steve chase his. He helps me chase mine. Easier for two dudes to kill a lion than it is for one. And then, what's the next lion? Because I want to start living my life not for the next thing, not the next car, not the next house, the boat, the bike, the whatever, fill in the blank. But what's the next challenge? What's the next thing that everybody's like, you can't do that? I'm going to do something. It'd be like Jimmy. Jimmy, come here for a second. Come here. Now imagine, I'm going to use an analogy from the world here. Somebody says, you can't do that. And I say, here, hold my beer. Okay. Or my Mountain Dew, the nectar of heaven. I won't get into all the health benefits of Mountain Dew. Again, you all know the health benefits of Mountain Dew. I've said it on more than one occasion. Third ingredient's orange juice. So it's loaded with antioxidants, help boost my immune system. It's loaded with preservatives. So like I drink it, right? And I live forever. And it makes other people happy by making me happy, because if I drink Mountain Dew, I'll be happy to be around Jimmy. Or at least act like it. But, you see, these lions are things that maybe it's already a thought in your head. God told me to do this, but I'm scared. God told me that this is the call for my life, but I've been listening to other voices. Once you know your call, you'll develop your passion within that call. And the thing is, don't lose focus. Because lion chasers have to be focused on killing that lion, or that lion's going to eat you alive. So, if you already have something in your mind, you're like, oh, that's my lion. That's the one I need to chase. How many of us already kind of have that thought kind of in my head? I'm already kind of like, okay, I need to do this. How many of us are like, I want to know what that lion is, but right now, honestly, I just don't have a clue. I've got so much on my plate right now that I'm just like, I don't know. I need to get focused and find out what that lion is. At some point in time, all of us are going to be the, I don't know. And at some point in time, all of us are going to be like, oh, yeah, I got it. Oh, that's me. Pick me, teacher. Or pull a Jed Baldwin. You know? And then something happens. Something happens. And we become, instead of Benaiah chasing the lion, we become somebody who's scared of the lion and running from it. And I'm just going to teach you all something real quick, and then we're done. It's not the lion that you're running from that you need to worry about. They hunt in prides. The one that you're running from is leading you into an ambush. To the 2 or 3 that are ready to eat you for lunch. Chase the one. Eat the lion one bite at a time. And then go after that lion's sister. Go after that lion's older brother. See, that's what David did. Everybody's like, oh, he picked 5 smooth stones from the river. And then I'll ask him, why did he pick 5 smooth stones? Why 5? Someone will be like, oh, in case he missed. David knew what he was doing with the weapon that he wielded. He wasn't going to miss. He knew the target he was aiming for, and he was going to hit it. He picked 5 smooth stones because Goliath had 4 other brothers. And he was fully intent on Goliath first, then I'm going to get that one, then I'm going to get that one, Then I'm gonna get that one. Then I'm gonna get that one. But David didn't have to. His mighty men, his heroic men, got the other ones for him, but he was fully prepared. I'm gonna nail you all. Go bye-bye. Because he knew that these giants and that these lions were these things that were going to try to tear him down, weaken him, and make him less than. And you can't have that if you're going to chase lions and chase after dreams that are destined to fail without divine intervention. So, let's chase these lions together. Let's discover what these lions are together. And then over the course of the next 6-7 weeks, we're going to start to look at ourselves as not just the warrior like Benaiah, who snatches a spear out of a 7.5-foot tall giant's hands and kills him with it. We're going to be like Eleazar, son of Dodo, who kills 300 men at one time. Develop that mindset. And then ultimately, you're able to switch it. Like a trigger, you can switch it on and off. Like people who have been trained by the military. We can go from happy-go